you very much for the invitation. I admire your stamina at 8 o'clock in the morning to talk about standards, but the cause is worthy. Standards, I don't think I have to underline how important they are, and I'm very happy that we can have a real celebration for World Standards Day today, and there will be a tweet chat organized also later today, where the Commission also contributes, and our Director General, our new Director General, DG Grow, she has a shorter title, will also launch a YouTube this morning. We'll keep you informed. Now, because you are so motivated, I thought I'd start with a little test. Know my standards. I'll ask you 3 numbers, and I'd be happy to have your reactions, what they mean. I'll start with the first number, 2,772. Any ideas what this could be? Venture out. Nobody? I'm disappointed. My team worked 3 hours to find that number. I'll give you the number. It's the accumulated number of years of all our standardization organizations in Europe. It represents the experience of the European continent and in standardization. And I don't think any continent will beat us on this. Very impressive. And I see NEN is here. 100 years of NEN experience count in these 2,772. Almost 100, because this year is still 99, I understand. Okay, the second number, 1 billion. I see you're still a bit tired. That's the cost, the annual cost of standardization in Europe. Just to give you a comparison, it could also be the turnover of Dyson. I'm into innovation, as you know, and that's the most innovative vacuum cleaners, amongst others. It could also be the price for 2 legs. Now I count on you. Whose legs? Gosh, Ronaldo. He's on offer, I understand, currently. Okay, 1 billion. Of course, it doesn't mean that's 1 billion the public is investing in standardization, just to be very clear on that. That's the amount of money that industry, and some of you represent industry, are investing in standardization because they think it's worth it. If we only talk about the EU funding of this, just also to put things into proportion, it's something around 20-25 million compared to 1 billion. What this number really shows, I think, how much this is owned by our companies, big and small in Europe, and how important standards are for their business model. Okay, I will not let you go. I have a third number, which is 60,000. Any idea? I hear something. Specialists, true. This is the contribution of the companies, of the most interested, to standardization. We estimate that there is something like 60,000 experts continuously busy with contributing to standards and making the best standards for Europe. And that is also a huge asset. And for sure, we have to make sure, and we discussed this, Michael, we discussed it in an earlier meeting of the EIF, we have to make sure that these experts actually stay in Europe and work here. Well, what I conclude from these numbers, and I'm very grateful for my team for having put all of this together, is that Europe is a center of excellence for making standards. And we should be proud of it, and we should be offensive about it. The great resources that we collectively invest into this are put to work because it brings innovation to the front, because it overcomes fragmentation in the single market, because it allows our companies to scale up in the single market, and by that, having this opportunity, also attracting investment. The single market and standards, and you will understand I now get to the single market. Single market and standards have been partners for 30 years. But in any partnership, you should always look for the new edge. And I come back to my example of Dyson. Even something as old as vacuum cleaners can be radically innovated. So we should take that as a lead. And we've been improving over the last years the framework of our partnership. I'd like to mention Regulation 1025, which had great support in the Parliament, I have to say, and which was adopted in first reading, and which now really sets the scene for the cooperation of the standard community with the broader single market community. Then we have what's called in jargon the independent review. We've been health checking the system. We have the new regulation, we have old ways of doing things. We had the health check, the independent review, and again it shows the interest also that exists in this topic. There was a huge participation and active input from the broad stakeholder community on looking how we work together and how maybe we can improve working together. The single market strategy, and here I'd like to say something. Some of you will have gotten used to calling it the IMS, the internal market strategy, that the Commission will present at the end of next month for as to express one of the 10 priorities of this Juncker Commission, priority 4 to be precise. Now, I just want to say that there has been a kind of rebranding, and we're talking about single market strategy. So if you want to abbreviate, it's SMS now. In this single market strategy, there was an orientation debate of the college already on the 6th of October, and the strategy will also have a strong part on standardization and the role of standardization for the single market and for delivering the other priorities of the Juncker Commission. And then, of course, and many of you are experts in this, we already adopted in May the digital single market strategy, which contains in particular one issue on standardization, the question of interoperability and how to set the right priorities in our work on standards for interoperability. The deadline for consultation is until 4 of January. Now, I do not suggest that you wait until 4 of January or not even until 24 of December. I would suggest to contribute before to that exercise, because your input and your knowledge also of the needs is very important, because it's companies, it's the actors in the market who know what standards they will need and who know what standards they'll need first. Now, when you marry or say go into a partnership, you ask yourself essentially 3 questions, if you're not completely blinded by the emotion. It's why should you marry, what are you supposed to do, and how are you supposed to do it? We want to ask you these questions again when it comes to the public-private partnership between standardization community and the EU. Now, why should we have this partnership? For us, the answer is pretty clear. It's because we have important priorities that we want to achieve in the mandate of this Commission. It's boosting growth and jobs. It's connecting digital single market. It's creating a deeper and fairer single market. And be a stronger global actor and have a resilient energy union. just to name a few. Now, what actually do we want to do together? As I already mentioned, there's this consultation on the interoperability standards, but I see other areas which are important as well. For example, smart cities, connected car. I also want to say here that increasingly, and we see this in our debates about the single market strategy, that the area between ICT and non-ICT, between goods and services, is increasingly blurring. Now, if this is blurring, then we have to find how to work together as well. I mean, we have some actors in the European standardization world with a strong knowledge on ICT, others with a strong knowledge on other things, and I think when we talk about the what, we also have to consider how to pool our respective expertise and experience. And then there's the question, of course, also how we do it. How we do it is an issue about, first of all, how do we get out of our silos? It's also an issue about how do standards come to being. When I was first told that I would be responsible for standards, which was a year or so ago, one person said to me, "I'm really sorry for you. You will only meet grey-haired men who drink coffee and have done nothing else than be in there." Well, I'm very happy that this is not the case. I'm also happy about all the women in this room. But that's the image that there is. It's unfair. It's not true. But, I mean, we should, coming back to Dyson, also think of innovation here sometimes. Now, work has started to reinvigorate our public-private partnership, and discussions take place from different angles. Many stakeholders contribute, because standardization is not only the standardization organizations, it's all. It has to be inclusive, and it has to include in particular the users of the standards as well. We are looking very much forward together, also with my team, and Hein Bollens is here, whom you know very well, for an opportunity for all partners, and including the EU, to use this discussion that we have at the moment to make tangible progress, to decide together where we need Europe to use standards, to have better standards, to have new standards, to have the best standards, to move forward. And I think meetings, Michael, like yours this today, they're a fantastic occasion to actually go towards that direction. And I'm counting on all of you, of course. Thank you very much.